So we have covered until conditions, if else and all. So now we're going to start with the loops in Java. What are the different types of loops available in Java? Loop basically it means repeating something again and again. Okay. So we're going to discuss about loops. So I'm going to start Eclipse. So there are like basically there are different types of loops available in Java. We mostly focus on for loops, while loop, do while loop. Okay, so these are the main important part which we need to focus more on. Okay, there is recursion as well, so which is not a loop. It's a way to like execute the same code again and again. That's not a loop actually, but the syntactically Java has given these two things. We can have for loop and we can have while loop, do while loop. Okay, so let's start discussing about loops. So I'm going to create a new Java project, file, new Java project, loops demo. Fine, I've created the project. First of all, I'm going to discuss about while loops. Okay, so I'm going to create a class, Java class. I'm going to put that into a package com.example dot loops loop, then while loop example. And here we are. So we are within while loop. So I'm going to create a main method so that I can run my code over here. Fine, the loop, my main method is here. So what is basically what problem we face in our basically while we write certain code, while we're dealing with certain problem statement, what are the problems that we face, so that those problems can be solved with loops, that we're going to understand now. Say for example, I want to print, there's a multi-line comment, there is a problem statement which says that print the name on console some 10 times. So this is very simple what we write. So if you want to print something, we can use this out. And here I write the name. Suppose the name is, okay, let's keep a variable name, and I'm going to create the variable. It's going to be a string name equals to, fine. So I have a name. I want to print that name. So this is going to print the name for me. If you look at the console, let's run this code. This one, the last. Run as, right click, run Java application. It is going to print the name for me, but it has printed the name only once. If I want to print that, say for example 10 times, what I'm going to do, I'm going to read the code 10 times, right? So it's 10 times now. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. So if I run this code now, it's going to print 10 numbers, 10 times the same name for me. But it's not the way to write the code, because tomorrow the requirement may change and they may say write it 100 times, right? So we cannot go on and change the code. We don't need to change the code. It becomes very much ugly for us. So what happens, Java has given us a way. So almost all the programming languages, they have the same standard of writing, of executing a loop. We have a while loop. Whenever there is a situation where we know how many times we need to print, the same code, how many times we need to execute the same code, then we should go for such a loop. So we're going to write a while loop. So this is going to be the syntax like we have seen for if, else and all. First we have the same keyword, that's while. Then over here we are having two brackets, and this is the body of while loop. So whatever we put inside this body, that is going to be executed some number of times. And I know that it's going to be executed some 10 times, right? So I should write certain condition which should let this body be executed only till 10 times, right? So over here I need to write something which is related to 10, or if I want to print it 5 times, I need to write something over here which is 5. So basically what we do in while loop, we basically write a condition over here. This is a boolean value. So we need to pass a boolean value. If it is true, say for example, if it is true, then execute this code. So while the condition, this is the condition, while the condition is true, I am going to execute this body until this condition is becoming false. So I need to have a value over here which is dynamic, which changes over the time, and this true should change and become false when the value becomes 10. Okay, when I have executed this body 10 times. So let me tell you, I can put an integer value whose name, integer number of times equals to 5. For example, I'm going to print the value 5 times. This is the requirement. So number of times integer value equal to 5. So I need to write certain logic over here which is going to be true all the time, but it should be true only 5 times. After that it should become false. Then only this code will be executed 5 times. So after the code is executed, I want to print that I have printed the name how many times plus number of times. Fine. So now there is some problem. What we are going to do, we are going to write a logic over here. We are going to check while number of times is greater than 0. So understand? So first of all, the number of times is 5. So while running the code, it becomes 5 greater than 0. That is true. Perfect. So 5 is greater than 0, so it is going to print this line, right? Then what I need to do is, I need to make certain changes over here so that the loop is going to execute 4 more times, only 4 times more, because I have printed only once. So I need to convert it into 4. Now I checked it, 4 is greater than 0. Okay. Now I have printed this second time. Now I need to change it to 3. So basically I am decrementing the number of times value from 5 to 4 to 3 to 1. So that way I can make it possible. Like when it is 3, it has printed 3 times. When it is 2, it is printing the 4th time. And when it is 1, it is printing the 5th time. When it becomes 0, 0 greater than 0, it is a false statement. So it is not going to execute the body, but it is going to get out of the loop. Okay, so we're going to put that logic over here. We're going to write number of times, that is 5, is greater than 0. Then do this. And while doing this, do one thing, decrease the value of number of times equal to number of times minus 1. So when I'm executing the loop, first of all, number of times is 5. It is greater than 0. It is printing a name and it is changing the value of number of times. Number of times will become 5. Like number of times equal to 5 minus 1, that is 4. So when it is coming back over here, it is going to check, is 4 greater than 0? Yes, it is true. Then it will execute the line. So just remember, within these two brackets, whatever condition we write, okay, whatever logic we put, it should be true, and when it becomes false, this body is not executed. So this body will be executed until this part, this condition that we are writing is true. So if I run the code now, it is 5. So it is starting with 5 greater than 0, then decreasing 5 to 5 minus 1, that is 4. So 4 is greater than 0. So this loop will run for what are the different values of number of times. When it is 5, it will run. When it is 4, it will run. When it is 3, it will run. 2, it will run. 1, it will run. But when it is 0, 0 greater than 0, it won't run. So it will print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Now you understood how this loop is working. So let me run the code and let me show you the result. It is very simple. You can see once, twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times. I printed the name. Now it is saying I printed the name 0 times because the number of times has changed. Understood? So it has changed the number of times. So I'll just remove this out of now. I printed the name multiple times. That's it. I printed the name multiple times. Seems okay. So I'll give you one more example. So I can do, see this code which I have written while number of times greater than 0. Okay. So it is printing that many number of times. If I make it 10, then this value will become, first of all, it will start from when the value of number of times is 10, it will run. When it becomes -1, that is 9, it will run. 8, it will run, and similarly it will go till 1. After 1 it becomes 0 and it won't run because 0 greater than 0 is false. So basically it will run for 1 to 10, that is 10 times. So we need to put our logic based on that only. We can put different types of logic, but right now we have just this logic. Okay. I can put this logic that I have written over here in the reverse order as well. Say for example, I want to print the name 10 times. I'm going to start int count equal to 0, and I'm going to write while count is less than 10. Understood? So first of all, count will be 0 because I have just specified it over here. Then I'm checking if 0 is less than 10. So 10 I cannot write, I can write number of times. Okay. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to write count equal to count plus 1. So whenever this loop is executed, when this condition is first checked, 0, count is 0, is less than 10, so that is true. So for the value of count, that is 0, it is going to run. When it executes and prints this name, then it does what it does, it increases the value of count. Count becomes 0 to 1. So for 1, what is the condition that I am checking? While count is less than number of times, that is 1 is less than 10, then also we need to run. 1 is there, 2 is there, 3 is there. Similarly, it will go till 9. So while count is 9, 9 less than 10, it will run. Then it will increase the value, count will become 10. Now it is what it is doing, 10 less than 10, no, that is false. 10 is equals to 10, not less than 10. So that won't run. Similarly, so what it will do, it will print 10 times starting from 0 till 9. So it will print 10 times. So this is another way of putting the logic. We can put our own logic based, like which is the best one, we'll use that one. There is one more operator in Java which we call increment or the decrement operator. So whenever you have such a scenario, x equals to x plus 1, we can directly write count plus plus. This means that count is going to be increased. Okay, this is the statement. We said that the count is going to be incremented by 1. Okay, or if I want to decrease the number of time, I can make it number of times equal to number of times minus 1 or number of times minus 1 minus minus. So this is a decrement operator. Okay, so let's do this way. Now the count is incremented, so it should print my name 10 times. So you can see. Now it has printed 10 times. If I make a change, if I make it 3, it's going to print the name 3 times. Right click, run as Java application. So what is happening based on our logic and the condition that we have provided, this much amount of code is repeated. Okay, this much amount of code is repeated. So here it is repeating 3 times. Okay, seems okay. So you have any doubt in this syntax of while loop? Or it's fine, we should proceed. Seems okay. So we're going to proceed to the next part. That's about do while. Okay, so in while we are writing the condition over here. So it first checks if the condition is true, then it executes the body. Okay, a similar way we can write do while. In do while, what happens? We don't have a condition up front. Do while, then the condition. So over here we are going to write the condition. The same body is going to be copied and pasted in do while. Okay, But we're not checking the condition initially. We're first executing the body. After executing it, then we are checking the condition. Okay, so the count is 0. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take count equals to 0. So count is reinitialized with 0 because by this time the count has increased till 3 or till 4. Oh no, so I'm going to make the count as 0. So it is going to print 3 times. So first of all it will print this way, count becomes 1. So while count becomes 1, so it has already executed once, is less than equals to number of times. So it will print, so this body will be executed initially even if the condition is failing, it doesn't matter. But with do while loop, first it executes the body. So this body will be executed. Once this body is executed, then it is going to check the while condition. It checks for the value of count, that is 0. Now it has increased, that has been 1. 1 less than equals to 3. Okay, that is fine. So when this condition becomes true, it will execute the body again. So for the value of count as 0, it has executed. Then count has become 1, it has checked with 1 less than equal to 3, it is fine. So it will execute again. For 1 also it will execute. And it is incremented the value has become 2 now. 2 less than equal to 3, that is also 2. So once it is true, it is going to execute the body again. So now it will become, for 2 it is executing, then it becomes 3. Okay, this one it becomes 3. Okay, and okay, for 2 it has executed. Now while executing the body, the count has been incremented to 3. Now it is checking the value 3 less than equal to 3, that is also right. So it is executing for 3 as well. But it's a problem. Now we're printing the value 4 times, right? So we shouldn't do that. You should make it only less than number of times, not less than equals to. If we add less than equals to, it is like executing the value once again. We want the value to be executed only 3 times. So for the value count value 0, 1 and 2, the loop is going to be executed. When count becomes 3, we say that 3 less than number of times, that is 3, so it is false, so it is not going to execute. So I'm going to comment this part and I'm going to run the code. Right click, run as Java application. So it is executing 3 times. So in while and do while, the only difference is in while we first check the condition. If the condition is satisfying, then we execute the body and update certain value which is going to affect the logic. So next time when the logic is checked, it should pass, otherwise the loop is going to be terminated. So the loop continues until this condition becomes false in case of while loop. But in case of do while loop, the loop will execute at least once. So this will be executed at least once, then it will check for the condition. Otherwise the rest of the things are very similar. In while and do while we have the same condition, nothing different. So I'm going to run the value now. It is 3 and I'm going to make it 5. So let's see if it is running 5 times. Now it has printed 5 times. Okay. I'm creating another while loop example in which okay. Okay, you have any doubt?
One question. Just make it that it number of times equal to 0 and execute it.
Which one? Number of times equals to 0. So you don't want to execute. You don't want to execute at least once. You don't want to execute at least once, right? So if you execute with do while loop, then it is going to print that at least once. I told you na, in do while loop, if you are interested in executing the loop at least once, then you should go with do while loop. If you want to check the condition initially, if you go with while loop, it will pass. It won't run at all.
Now in while it will not print anything.
It will not print anything. It's very simple. Right click, run as Java. It won't print anything. I have printed 0 times. Right?
Okay.
So that is the difference. If you have such a scenario in which you want the software to be run at least once, the code to be run at least once, then you should go with do while loop. Then it fails, it doesn't matter. Okay, if the condition says false, it is fine. But initially, if you want to check only if the condition is matching, then only I should execute the body. Understood? Then only you should go with while loop.
Okay.
Okay, any other doubt anyone is having, or should I proceed? Okay.
No, that's it.
So I'm proceeding to the next part, in which I have a use case which says that print all numbers from 1 to 10. Very simple. So I'm going to write a while loop to achieve that. Right? So this is a while loop. I want to print all the numbers from 1 to 10. So I have the starting condition int start equals to 1, int end equals to 10. That's it. So I need to put a logic so that the loop is executed 10 times, or the loop is executed when the value is from start 1 to value is n. So I need to print some value over here, right? I need to print something. So for example, number or current number as some integer variable. So what I want to do is, I have a starting boundary condition, starting condition and end condition. I want this loop to be executed within this much number of times. Okay, and while it is going from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, at that point of time I want to update the current number, okay, so that the current number can be printed over here. Okay, so how am I going to start? See, this is a scenario when we face such a case, we should go ahead with for loop, because that is very easier to implement. But we can do that with while loop as well. It's not a difficult case. While start is less than end. Okay, so start is going to be 1, and it is going to increment to 2, 3, 4 like that until it reaches 10. So while start is less than end, so while writing the code, we need to always write what are the output, what is going to be the output. For if I give start equal to 1 and end equal to 10, I need to first write the output. It is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, that way. Do we want 10? Yes. If we want both the boundaries to be included, 1 and 10 to be included, then we are going to write the logic as per that only, because the start value is going to be 1, 2, 3. That way it is going to be incremented, and it is going to reach till it reaches the end. So we are going to make it less than equals to. Okay. And one more thing, we are going to print the value of current number. So the current number is not having any value. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to assign the current number equal to start. So what is happening? I'm going to print the current number. Okay. So initially the current number will start from the start value, because I want to print from 1 then onwards. So I'm assigning the current number equals to start value, that is 1. Now I'm going to check if the current number is less than or equals to n. If this condition is satisfied, then I am going to execute this body. But you can see in the meantime the current number is still 1. It is not incremented or decremented. So what I am going to do, I am going to write current number plus plus. So when a current number is equal to 1 and 1 is less than or equal to 10, then it is going to print 1. For this is going to print 1, because current number equals to 1. Then it should make the current number value equals to 2 by incrementing by 1. Now it is going to check again, 2 less than or equal to 10, yes it is true. Now the value is 2, it will print 2 and the current number will become 3. Like that it will go until the value of current number is 9. And when it is 9, it is checking that 9 less than or equal to 10, yes it is going to print a 9. And it is incrementing the value from 9 to 10. Then it will check 10. Is it less than or equal to 10? Yes, it is less than or equal to 10. So it is going to print 10 as well. And the current number will become 11. Understood? So 11 less than or equal to 10, it is false. So it won't execute the body and it will go out of the loop. This is the logic. So let's run this code and let's look at the output. You can see it has printed from 1, 2, 3, 4 until 10. We can do the same code in a do while loop as well. In do while, what we write, we bring the condition to the end. So I'll cut this condition out, cut it, and we're going to write do. At the end, we're going to put the logic, while then the logic. Right, but here we need to make certain changes. We need to see if it is working properly. First of all, let me comment this out. Now the current number is equal to 1, that is start value. So it is going to print 1 initially, and it is going to increment the value of current number to 2. Okay, now current number equals to 2. Is it less than equal to 10? Yes. So it is going to execute the body again. So whenever after while, if it is a do while loop or while loop, whenever this condition is satisfied, we are going to execute the corresponding body. Even if we are in while loop, we'll check with this condition. If it is met, if it is true, then we'll execute this body. We'll first execute the do body, and then we'll check if this condition is true. If this condition is true, we'll do it again. Then we are going to check the condition. If it is true, we'll do it again. Similarly, we'll do it unless this condition becomes false. Okay, so now we are printing the current number and we are increasing the value of current number to 2. When the current number becomes 9, it will be incremented, it becomes 9. The current number here will become 10. It is going to check 10 less than equal to 10. It is true. Then it will print 10, and this value will become 11, and 11 less than equal to 10, it won't run. So let me run this code and let's look at the output. It is printing from 1 to 10. Let's do one thing. Let's change the range from 5 to, say for example, I want to print from 5 to 9. Okay, so right click, run as Java application. So it is using do while 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All the values are printed. Okay, if I am using this while loop and comment this one, right click, run as Java application, it is going to work the same way. So what are the things that used to change basically is this condition on which we need to put our logic, because inside that the code is going to be repeated all the time, and we need to make certain changes to the condition so that this condition, next time the condition is going towards failing, towards false. So initially it is true, but we need to make certain changes in the body so that tomorrow or after some time, when the loop is executed continuously, after some time this condition will become false. Otherwise, if the condition is true all the time, this loop will become continued like infinitely. So that is what we call an infinite loop. With infinite loop, your system will go run out of memory and your application will stop automatically. It will never hamper your operating system. As I have already told you, Java has a virtual machine. Whatever it needs to run, whatever it needs to play with, whatever code we write, it is run on that virtual environment. So even if that virtual environment crashes, your system is never going to crash. Okay. So if we have a while loop which is in which the condition is true all the time, we can directly write true, and this is going to be looped again and again. So it will hamper the JVM, Java Virtual Machine. It will be stopped, but it won't affect my operating system. So such type of loop in which the condition is true all the time is called a infinite loop. Okay, anyone having any doubt with while and do while now? I have given you two examples.
Arya, can you tell me where we can use that infinite loop in real time?
Yes. Infinite loop is used in real time in many cases. See, if you have a server, okay, if you have a server, what does the server do? It is basically up all the time, so that any time, at any point of time, a client can request for a page. So I'll tell you what a server is. So whenever we type google.com or some website address, so it goes to a server, right? So that request is received by the server. So the server needs to be up all the time, right? We should never let the server down. So what happens when we have an operating system, within that we have a Java code and that acts as a server. Okay, so this Java code may be listening to some port, maybe talking to somebody online. So we'll have the Java code written inside a while true loop. Okay, that's an infinite loop, and it is open all the time. Whenever somebody is connected, it executes that part and it greets the user. Like, so it should never be down. So we can have such a for loop or such a while loop or such a code block which is executed all the time, and it should never go down. And if you want to stop that code, we can obviously kill that process in our application, in our system, or we can close that window if you're using Windows.
In case of database connection also, can we use this one?
Yeah, in case of database connection also it is used. Okay, it is used in case directly, not in case of database connection. We have a concept of thread pooling. Okay, thread pooling, as in there is a pool of threads, okay, or connections. So when somebody is interested to communicate with database, what they do, they ask this pool of connections, give me one connection. The connection pool will, what it will do, it will bring one connection and give it to the person who is interested in making a database communication. So once the person has done the database communication, it again gives that connection with the database back into that pool. So the pool is always up and running and waiting for others to ask him for a connection. Understand? So that pool is infinite loop. It's an infinite loop. It doesn't stop automatically because it should be on all the time, because anybody can ask at any point of time to connect with the database.
But if you see, I mean, mostly entity manager connects to the database, right?
So that entity manager concept, what you are talking about, it's very much specific to the enterprise applications. You may not be having entity manager at all point of time. Okay, in Java, we don't deal with entity manager with all the time. We also deal with session manager. We deal with connection pooling. We have a lot of concepts. So if your application is built on entity manager, okay, there is somebody who is managing that connection, right? So entity manager is indirectly making some database connections, right? So it is going to ask for a connection, and that application which is giving you the connection, it should be up all the time. So the logic of being up all the time should be put within this while loop.
Okay, got it.
So it depends on the situation. When you get such a scenario, you will be able to understand. But ideally, writing an infinite loop is not good. Only when we need a case where we can write, we'll write it. Okay, anyone else having any doubt with while or do while? Or if you have any problem, let me explain it to you again. If you have anything, just let me know. Okay, so everyone is fine with while and do while loop. Should we proceed to the next part?
Yes.
Yes, great. So we have already, as I have already told you about while, there are two different types of loop. One is while loop, one is for loop, and while loop is again, it can be done in two ways. Either we can go with the condition in the first case, then we execute the body, or we first execute the body, then we check the condition. If the condition is satisfied, we'll again execute the body. So the same concept is taken forward. We are going to talk about for loop. So in the for loop also we are having a similar concept, in which what we do, we used to basically have the same body of code, but the condition is written in a different way. So I'm going to write a new Java class, which I'm going to call a for loop example. Enter. So now here I am in the for loop example, and I'm going to create a main method. The same use case we are going to write over here. The second use case that we have done, printing numbers from 1 to 10, or this thing can be changed. So if you look at the while loop example, I'm going to copy paste over here, copy, and I'm going to paste it over here. Okay, we used to have this scenario. I'm going to put it into a multi-line comment. Slash star is a multi-line comment which starts with slash star and star slash it ends over here. So anything within these comments are never going to be compiled by the compiler. They're just for the understanding of the programmer. What I'm going to write now, I'm going to write a for loop. As I have already given you example, I have already introduced with you with if, while, switch and everything. So whenever a new syntax comes in Java, it's very simple. As I've already told you, if we're talking about for loop, we'll have a for, then two brackets and this body. That's it. Now we have this body. So whatever code we have written over here, right, that code we are going to write over here. Understood? Now the condition part, we used to have the condition part within these two brackets. What we are going to write, we are going to write the same condition over here, but in a different way. Okay. For loop comes with three parameters within these two brackets. These three parameters are going to help us loop from this start position till this end position. Okay. So here we have written something, we have written the condition over here, but we have incremented the value within the body. In for loop, we are not going to increment within the body. So how are we going to do that? So first of all, I need to write the logic over here. I need to start with 1, because as per the requirement, I need to start from 1, and I need to print all the numbers till I reach 10. So I should initialize, first of all, I'm going to initialize an integer value, int I equals to 1, because I'm going to start with this, or I can name it as current number, it is more specific. Okay, so I'm going to start with the current number, that is 1, then a semicolon. I'm going to write the condition, current number, the condition, as I have already told you over here, we had the condition start and end was at 10. So over here I'm going to write the current number is less than end. So I'm going to define int end equals to 10, because I want to print until 10. And similarly, I need to have a start bound. I need to have a start condition. Start is going to be 1. Okay. So I'm going to start with 1 and end at 10. So current number is going to be start. This is the initialization part in for loop. After that, I write the condition. Current number is less than end. After that, this part is written. Current number value is incremented.
It's 11 o'clock.
Is incremented. Now you can see this part is no more needed. Okay, and it's going to print the number for me, the value of current number in this body. So in this body is now more clear. We don't have to increment any value over here. We just need to deal with the business logic that we want, and how many times that this loop is going to be executed, that is going to be part of the for loop. Earlier we had a mixture of, like, if you want to print somebody's name, if you want to print a value, that is the business logic. But I'm doing that as well as I'm doing some other extra work, some other homework, like I'm going to increment the value, otherwise this loop is not going to stop. It's going to become an infinite loop, or something else will happen. So this part of the code, like writing current number plus plus or incrementing the value, which is indirectly affecting the condition, is making my code look bad. So if we have such a scenario in which we want to write some better code, okay, we want to make it even more simpler, we should go with for loop. And the person who is interested in the business logic can just look at this, and is not interested in how much time this is executed. Okay, doesn't want to know how many times this is executed. He'll just focus on the body part. He just needs to know, okay, this name is going to be printed, fine, but how many times, I don't know. At runtime, that is going to be defined. So when somebody is having such a scenario, he can write this way. The for loop has 3 parts. I'll zoom it for you. The first part is called as the initialization part. Int some sort of value which is going to, in which we are going to start from that start value. Current number is going to start from start value, that is 1, and the value current number is going to be less than end is 10. So current number is 1, that is less than 10, that is true. 2 less than 10, that is true, until this condition is met. Okay, unless this condition, till the time this condition is met, this body will be executed. Whatever code we write, even if we want to have some more writes, this outs, nothing. So whatever you want to write, whatever type of code, if you want to make a database connection, if you want to go open a website, if you want to go and write into some sort of file, if you want to send an email or anything that we want to do repeatedly, we can put them within this body. Okay, and this condition is going to decide if this body is going to be executed or not. Understood? So the first part is initializing with a starting value, then checking with a condition. If the condition is met, then execute the body. After executing the body, increment or decrement these parameter. So now we are incrementing the value, we are increasing the value. If you have a scenario in which we need to decrement, we can put a decrement operator as well. So this is basically executed after the body is executed. Once the body is executed, this value is like incremented or decremented. Then it again comes back to this condition. It checks the condition again. If the condition is met, if this is evaluating to true or false, if it is true, then it will execute the body again. And again it will go to this position, increment or decrement. Then it will check the condition. And when it finds the current number is 9 and it is less than 10 end value, it is true. So it is going to execute the body. After executing the body, the current number is going to become 10. After incrementing this value, it is going to check 10 less than 10. It is false. So it is not going to execute the body. Right? But as per our business standard, it should be executed until it reaches the end value. Even if it reaches the end value, it is going to print once again. So this condition is going to help us with that. Less than equals to also says that 10 is less than equal to 10. But 10 less than 10 is false. So we're going to print the value using this operator. So this syntax looks little different. This initialization part is done only once. Then this condition is checked. If that is true, the body is executed. Once the body is executed, then this increment or decrement is done. Again the condition is checked, the body is executed, and this increment decrement happens. Again the condition, body and increment decrement. This will continue until the condition is true, and when the condition becomes false, this body won't be executed, it will come out of the loop. So if I write sysout out of the loop, fine. So seems okay for you. Let's run the code, and I have given the bracket, you can see 1 to 10. Run as Java application. So it's going to print 1 to 10, and every time whenever it is printing this value, it is also printing nothing. It looks weird. Let's delete this and run the code again. Run as Java application. It is going to print 1, 2 until 10, and then it is going out of the loop and it is printing out of the loop. So if you want to change the parameters like 9 to 29, so it is going to print the value 20 times, 9, 10 like that. So it has printed 29, starting from 9 till 29, it has printed the loop. Yes, there is one more case. As we have checked the logic, current number less than equal to end number, it's always needed the start less than the end value. If we make it 9 and 10, it is going to work. It is going to print only two numbers, 9 and 10. But when we make it 9 and 7, it's never going to run any of the code. Any of the code is not executed. None of the body is executed. You can see the current number will be initialized with 9. Okay, starting value 9, current number is 9, less than equal to 7. That is false. So this body is not executed. It will come out of the loop, and it says out of the loop. Okay, anyone having any doubt in this for loop?
Can I just change the condition? Current number that is less than, that is greater than.
Greater than equals to end.
Yes, sir. Just run.
Okay. You can see this is an infinite loop and it is running all the time. After some time it will say out of memory and all, and it will stop the code. We don't know till what time it is going to run. I have an 8 GB of memory that is sufficient to help it run for a long time. So you understood how this is happening. If the current number is 9, 9 is greater than equals to 7. It is true. Again, we are increasing the value. Current number is becoming 10. 10 is greater than equal to 7, that is also true. If it becomes 11, so that is going away from being false. We should put the logic so that it should start with true and it will go gradually towards the false condition. So currently if we make it current number minus minus, it will work for us. It will not be an infinite loop, but it will stop. 987, it has printed 3 values.
Okay, I got the answer.
Got it?
Yes.
So anyone else having any doubt?
Sir,
Okay.
where we can use for, do, and do while loop, sir? Because both having same functionality. Firstly, check the condition and then we'll execute the code.
Right. Let me do one thing. Let me open both the examples side by side. Okay, we have it over here, but let me delete this one. Okay. Just tell me one thing over here. You have the same sort of code working in both the places. I'll make it less than equals to 10 and then value is incremental. Okay, in both the cases you have the same problem being solved with while loop and with for loop, right?
Right, sir.
Over here in both the use cases we have a situation which says that we're going to run the body, this is the logic. We're going to execute this logic this much number of times, starting from 5 to 9. Okay, we have the boundaries, right? We have the boundaries 5 to 9. Over here, the same thing is over here. We're dealing with the same problem. But if you look at the logic, business logic, within this business logic or within the body, I'm trying to solve it somehow like this condition is going to be executed this much number of times. But in for loop, we have a straight answer which says that this is the condition, leave the condition apart, just execute the body. So if you want to have, like if you want to give a better clarity to the code, if you want to have a better code written, you can go with for loop, right? Both the things are doing the same, like solving the same problem for us. But this while loop, it is having some impurity in this. Okay?
This while loop have some.
While loop is having some extra code other than our business logic. So this is our business logic, printing the current number. But I'm doing something else within the body so that this loop is executed 10 times. So this loop is executed some 5 number of times. That is not the main business logic. Over here, this is the business logic and I have written only that number of code. The for loop body is containing the condition. So I should not be worried like how many. So if somebody looks at this code, he'll be thinking why this current number is increasing. So he needs to understand the entire while loop. Okay. But over here, he needs to understand, okay, this is something which is done and it is going to be printed some 5 or 10 times. I don't need to worry about it. Okay. That is one difference which you can see if you code is something in which you want to write, you want to separate the business logic entirely out of the conditions and all, then you can go with the for loop, and otherwise while loop is sufficient for us. Both the things are going to do the same thing for us. It's just a choice. How better you can write the code, it's just a choice for you. All the thing that we need to do is we need to give a proper condition over here, okay, or we need to give a proper condition over here so that the code is executed some number, finite number of times. Okay, both the cases are going to solve our business logic. So anyone else having any doubt?
No.
So there is one more type of loop which comes with for loop that we call an extended for loop. Okay. So this for loop, if we'll talk about this part. Okay. Now we know that there is a start condition, there is an end condition, and we have the boundary. Then what we did, we have this int And the start condition, then we're checking with the boundary and we're increasing this value so that it reaches and hits the boundary and it stops executing the code. When we have certain data structure, for example, if you have an array, so let me give you an example of an array. I have a class extended for loop. Extended for loop example, I am going to write the main method. Suppose I want to store all the names in a single variable. I cannot do that with a string name equals to, I will have just one name over here. If I want to have multiple data of similar type, like string multiple times or integer multiple times within a single variable, then I should go with an array type. I can make it string array. Now the array says that this names parameter or whatever name you want to give, this can store a lot of string type data. So if you give two brackets, it is converted automatically to an array type. Okay. So there are different ways to initialize an array. I'm going to show you some more types. New string array, and within that we're going to specify how many data we want to save. So now this names is capable of storing 5 different string values. Okay. If I want to assign names 0 value equals to some value, that means the names array will have 5 different blocks or 5 different spaces. In the first space I am storing some value, and this space is called the index. In any programming language, when we talk about indexes of arrays, index or the position within that array, we start with 0 and we go forward with 0, then 1, we'll have 1, we'll have 2, we'll have 3, we'll have 4. As I've already specified, this names is capable of storing only 5 values. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 values. Starting from 0 index till 4 index, it can store only this much amount of data. If ever I try to access the 5th element, it's going to throw me error, because Java compiler is going to say, I don't have that location, you have never created that location, how do you try to access that? So this is going to throw some error, we're not going to access that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to store some of the names within that. So fine, now I have 5 names stored within a string array variable. Later on, if I want to access a specific value, I should print it the same way. If I want to access the 4th element, I should go with array index 3. If I'm interested in 5th element, I will go with array index 4. So this is going to print the 4th value in the array. Right click, run as Java application. So it is going to print Ranjit. So if I change this parameter to 2, it will print Devasis. Similarly, if I want to print the value of 5 which I have never stored, or 15, 18, whatever which I have never stored, or the array doesn't have that length, that capacity, then it is going to throw some error. So if I right click, run as, and this is called an exception in Java, which we call index. This index is 18. Index is out of bounds. The boundary is from 0 to 4, but the index is 18. So that index is out of the boundary. So it says that 18 index is not available. So that is the error. This is an exception. We'll talk about exceptions in a different class. So when we have such a scenario, when we have multiple such data stored in a single variable, if we call that an array, if we have an array scenario, and if I want to print all the names, okay, if I want to print all the names, then I can do that with a for loop. How to do that? What I need to do, basically I need to print the names index 0, then I need to print the names index 1, then I can print 2, 3 and 4. right? This is the way I'm going to print all the values. Suppose I don't have a for loop. Till now I don't know how to write the for loop. So what is happening if I run this code, it is going to print all the names, right, in the same order that I've inserted. Now if somebody wants to not write all these names, if somebody is trying to insert a new value, say for example names 5, okay, it's going to give some error, so I need to increase the size of 5 to 6. So I have made a lot of changes. I have changed over here and I'm going to make another changes over here as well. So if somebody is not interested to add all these values again and again, so what we can do, we can have a loop in which we can have an index value, index parameter, say for example int index equals to 0, and every time I'm executing the code, it should increment the value of index to index plus 1. So it will become, index will become 0 plus 1, that is 1. So over here I'm having the index 1, so it will print names of 1. So I can write such a sysout which has index within that, and this index can be put within a for loop. Understood? This can be a loop's body or a while loop or do while loop or for loop's body. Within that I'm going to write index, and over this body I can have a condition. What it is doing, it is incrementing the value of index. So every time this code is executed, it will become names of index, that is 0, first line is done. Next time when it is run, names of index, that is 1, names of index, that is 2, 3, 4, 5, that way. So we don't need to write everything all the time. So I can delete this part and let's make it a for loop. What I want to do, what I want to achieve is, I want to achieve this index value. So in the for loop, as I've already told you, we initialize the value in here. Index equals to 0, index is less than 6, index plus plus, and I have the code now. So you can look at this. It is going to start with 0. Then it is going to check 0 less than 6. Yes, it is going to print names of 0. Then it will increment the value to 1. Again it will check 1 less than 6. Yes, it is fine. It is going to print names of 1. Increment the value, it becomes 2. 2 less than 6. Yes. Similarly, it will go until it becomes 5 less than 6. That is true. It is going to print the last name, names of 5. Then it becomes, index becomes 6. 6 less than 6, it is not. So it will go out of the body and it will come out of the class. So let's run the code. Right click, run as Java application. It is printing the value. So if I want to make it 7, or if I want to make some changes, suppose I made it 7, so it is going to have another index. So I'm going to change over here as well. I need to make it 7. So that is something which I want to avoid. So I need to loop it from 0 till it reaches the number of elements in the loop, in the array. So I can directly write, there is a property of names of any array, names.length. So this names.length value will be 7 now. So 0 will be less than 7. So how many elements are present in the array? The names, the array size, that is the length of the array. So if I have created the array with 7, the names.length will always give me 7. So I don't need to write it over here all the time. Fine, let's run the code. Run as Java application. Let's print it that much time. If I'm tomorrow, I'm going to change it. I'm going to make it 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3. This much elements are available. These elements are not available. I can just comment this line and I can run the code directly. It's going to give me the output. Understood? So this is how we write in for loop. But see, this situation is become even more complex.
If you not comment because
If you don't comment, it is trying to access the 5th element, nodes of names of 4. That is 5th element. But I have the space only for 4 elements. So I'll get some error over here. Okay? On line number 13, I'll get some error. That's the reason why I have commented this. If you want, you can see this. Okay, anyways, so you understood how this for loop is working for an array.
yes.
Okay, I'll give you certain examples on this array so that you can understand it in a better way. So let me give you the next version of for loop, that is called as the enhanced for loop. So what I'm basically interested on the element at a specific location, names index. Okay, so I can remove these things, names dot length starting with 0 and increment every time, because any type of loop I get in life, every time I'm going to do the same thing. Any type of array I'm going to see in my life, all the time I'm going to write the same thing, start the index from 0, increment it all the time by 1, and get the next element and loop it until the array reaches the length. So Java is given another way, that is we call extended for loop. Within that extended for loop, if I'm accessing an array of string or array of integer or array of any type, then I need to create another variable of that type, string name, give a colon and the array's name. So it is going to automatically pick one element from this array at a time, assign that value to name variable, and then go and execute the body. And when these names elements are exhausted, it has reached the last element, we don't need to write any condition, it will automatically come out of the loop. That's how this enhanced for loop is written. So now I'm going to run this code. See, it has become very simple. We don't have to write all these things. So if I run the code, right click, run as Java application, it is going to give me the actual answer. And even if I change this value to 7 and the number of data has increased, I have made no changes in the code, in the loop, okay, in this for loop logic, nothing is changed. I just need to right click, run a Java application, it's going to print all the values. Over here we have lot of things, we are dealing with many things. We don't need to deal with the indexes as well. So this is how an enhanced for loop used to work. Okay, anyone having any doubt? This is going to be a little difficult to understand the looping structure and all. Just try to repeat the video again and again, try to understand the concepts. If you're not getting at any point of time, let me help you out.